there is a level of calm that does not feel human, not relaxed, not peaceful, not gentle, unnatural. You've seen it before. A room is collapsing under pressure. Voices are rising. Hands are moving too fast. People are explaining themselves. And then, there's that one person. They don't rush. They don't justify. They don't react. They pause. Their breathing doesn't change. Their posture doesn't shrink. Their eyes don't search for approval. And suddenly, the entire room adjusts to them. Not because they demand it, but because their stillness reorders reality. People don't say it out loud, but they feel it. Why am I nervous? And they're not? What do they know that I don't? Why does their calm make me uneasy? This is not serenity. This is dominance without aggression. Why this calm feels threatening? Most people think calm is passive. It's not. Calm that cannot be disturbed forces others to confront their own instability. When you don't react, their urgency feels exaggerated. Their emotions feel exposed. Their pressure loses power. And pressure hates a surface it can't penetrate. That's why true calm doesn't comfort people. It unnerves them. The lie you've been taught about stress. You were told stress comes from big moments, high stakes, important people. That's a lie. Two people can face the same situation. One collapses. The other remains untouched. Same room. Same stakes. Different internal architecture. Which means pressure is not external. It is constructed. And once you understand that, everything changes. 400 years ago, this was life or death. Long before psychology. Before neuroscience. Before stress research. A man named Miyamoto Musashi lived in a world where hesitation equals death. Overthinking equals death. Emotional reaction equals death. There were no second chances. And yet, he never lost control. Not once. Not because he was fearless, but because he removed the mechanism that creates fear. What Musashi actually wrote. Musashi didn't write about calm. He wrote about immovability. A mind that does not rush forward or pull backward, regardless of threat. A mind that remains exactly the same, whether drinking tea or facing a blade. He called the state Fudoshin, the unshakable mind. This is where people get it wrong. They hear this and think, I need to relax. I need to breathe. I need to be zen. Wrong. Musashi didn't relax in combat. He eliminated inner movement. No mental flinching. No internal noise. No future simulation. Only presence. Only response. What this video will actually give you. Not techniques. Not hacks. A complete mental restructuring. By the end, you'll understand why calm people control rooms. Why pressure collapses without resistance. Why reacting is weakness. And why unshakability is learned, not gifted. But first, you need to see how pressure destroys intelligent people. In the next chapter, you'll meet a man who had everything, intelligence, education, status, and still collapsed every time pressure arrived. Not because he was weak, but because his mind was built wrong. The man's name was John. On paper, he was untouchable. 2 MBAs. Fluent in 3 languages, respected by his peers, fast thinker, sharp memory. In calm situations, John was brilliant, but pressure exposed something ugly. The moment it always happened, the room would fill, executives would sit down, laptops would open, and before anyone even spoke, his body already knew what was coming. Heart rate up, jaw tight, breath shallow. Not because anything bad had happened, but because his mind had already traveled into the future. A future where he failed. He embarrassed himself. He lost status. He was exposed. By the time he started speaking, his brain wasn't in the room anymore. It was fighting imaginary disasters. Why smart minds suffer more. Here's the cruel truth most people never hear. Intelligence amplifies pressure. the smarter you are, the more scenarios you imagine, the more consequences you predict, the more futures you simulate. Your brain becomes a threat factory. John wasn't afraid of the presentation. He was afraid of the story he told himself about it. And the brain does not distinguish between a real threat and a vividly imagined one. To your nervous system, they are the same. What actually happens in your body? When John felt pressure, his primitive brain took control. Cortisol flooded his bloodstream. Adrenaline spiked. Blood left the prefrontal cortex. This is critical. The very part of the brain responsible for logic, speech, decision-making, shuts down under perceived threat. So John tried to think his way out. That only made it worse. The paradox of control. The harder he tried to control himself, the less control he had. Because emotional regulation cannot happen during threat. Once the alarm is on, you're already too late. This is where most self-help fails. Breathing exercises, affirmations, last-minute calming tricks. They treat the symptom, not the structure. What Musashi understood that we don't. Musashi never tried to calm himself during combat. That would be suicide. Instead, he built a mind that never interpreted pressure as danger. No alarm, no chemical flood, no collapse. This is the difference between managing stress and being immune to it. The first pillar, the ordinary mind. Musashi called it hijishin. The ordinary mind. Same mental state, in silence, in conflict, in danger, in chaos. Not elevated, not suppressed, unchanged. John's first real training. It didn't start in boardrooms. It started in ordinary places. Ordering coffee, talking to a cashier, walking into work. John practiced consistency. Same posture, same breath depth, same pace of movement. No performance, just neutrality. At first it felt pointless, then uncomfortable, then exhausting, because his nervous system fought back. Why it felt wrong. Your body is addicted to reaction. Drama feels familiar. Urgency feels important. Anxiety feels productive. Calm feels unsafe, because it's unfamiliar. John's system resisted. That's how he knew it was working. The first crack in the old identity. 2 weeks in, something changed. Pressure didn't disappear, but it arrived later. Instead of instant panic, there was space. And space is everything. Because in space, you can choose. But ordinary mind alone wasn't enough. John was calmer, but still mentally noisy. Still thinking too much. Still preparing internally while speaking. That's when he discovered the most dangerous idea in Musashi's system. Emptiness. Not peace. Not silence. Weaponized emptiness. The void that makes you untouchable. John thought calm meant control. He was wrong. Control still requires effort. Musashi was after something else. Absence. Why thinking is the real enemy. John noticed something disturbing. Even when he stayed calm, his mind was still busy, planning sentences, monitoring reactions, predicting objections. He wasn't panicking anymore, but he was interfering. And interference is enough to break flow. Musashi warned about this directly. When the mind is occupied with intention, it cannot act freely. Translation: when you're thinking about how to perform, you cannot actually perform. What Musashi meant by emptiness. Emptiness is not blankness, passivity, dissociation, the subtraction, removing everything that doesn't belong to now. Fear of outcome gone. Self-image gone. Future consequences gone. What remains? Only the task. Only response. Only presence. The moment John felt it, it happened during a small meeting. No stakes. No spotlight. Someone challenged his idea. Normally his mind would race. But this time, nothing rose. No defense. No inner monologue. No emotional surge. He listened, then responded. Cleanly, Effortlessly, the room shifted. Why people react strangely to the void. Humans expect resistance, emotion, justification, defense. When none appears, they feel exposed. Silence becomes pressure. Stillness becomes dominance. Not because you assert power, but because you don't need to. The three questions that create emptiness. John began clearing his mind before any pressure moment. Not meditation, not breathing, filtering. He asked, what must be done now? What must be known now? How must I be now? Anything else was mental clutter. And clutter is weakness. Why this works neurologically. Your brain can only fully process one priority. Fear competes for attention. Remove the competition, and fear starves. You don't fight it. You outgrow it. The dangerous side effect. John didn't just feel calmer. He felt harder to manipulate. Pressure tactics stopped working. Urgency lost its bite. Emotional bait fell flat. This is when calm becomes strategic. But emptiness alone still wasn't enough. Because under extreme pressure, even trained minds collapse if unprepared. Musashi knew this. That's why he trained before the battle ever began. The battle is won before it begins. John made one last mistake. He thought emptiness would protect him in the moment. It won't. Nothing saves you during the surge. By the time adrenaline hits, the window has closed. Musashi understood this centuries ago. You don't prepare in battle. You arrive already finished. Why most people fail under pressure. They train reaction, not baseline. They wait until the meeting starts, the argument escalates, the spotlight turns on. Then they try to calm themselves. Too late. Your nervous system has already chosen. Musashi's most dangerous principle. The outcome is decided before the sword is drawn. This wasn't metaphor. Musashi trained his mind so thoroughly. That combat was merely confirmation. No surprise, no spike, no inner chaos. John's ghost training. This changed everything. Every day, 20 minutes. No exceptions. John simulated pressure before it existed. He sat in silence and imagined, walking into the boardroom, standing in front of executives, being interrupted, being challenged, being questioned aggressively. And through all of it, he maintained the same mental state he had while sitting alone. Same breathing, same posture, same inner silence. Why the brain can't tell the difference? Your nervous system doesn't separate real experience, vividly imagined experience. It learns from both. Every simulation was a rehearsal. Every calm response became familiar. What happens when real pressure arrives? When the real moment came, his body recognized it, not as threat, but as repetition. No spike, no alarm, just execution. This is why most people never master calm. They only practice calm when they need it. Masters practice calm when they don't. That's the difference. 6 weeks into training, John faced the situation that had broken him every time before. A room full of power. Money on the line. Egos sharpened. This time, something was different. When your calm intimidates others. The boardroom was silent. 15 executives. $5 million. One decision. John stood at the front. And for the first time in his career, his body felt nothing. Not confidence. Not fear. Neutral. Like standing in his kitchen at night, deciding whether to drink water. What real calm feels like. It's not elevated. It's ordinary. No adrenaline rush. No motivational surge. Just presence. This is why people misinterpret it. They expect tension. When they don't see it, their own tension becomes louder. The questions came hard. Interruptions. Challenges. Aggressive framing. And John didn't rush. He listened. He paused. He answered only what was asked. No defense. No emotional tone. Just precision. The moment the room shifted, one executive leaned back. Another stopped taking notes. The energy changed. Not because John dominated, but because nobody could read him. Humans get nervous around unpredictability, and calm is unpredictable to anxious minds. The sentence that sealed it. After the meeting, one director said, "Your calm is intimidating. Not impressive. Not admirable. Intimidating. Because calm that doesn't seek approval creates psychological asymmetry." Why this happens? Emotion leaks information. Tone reveals insecurity. Urgency reveals weakness. Reaction reveals leverage. Calm reveals nothing. And when you reveal nothing, others reveal everything. Calm as a strategic weapon. John began using calm intentionally. In negotiations, he listened longer, spoke less, reacted never. Pressure bounced back. The more they pushed, the more exposed they became. The paradox of power. The less John tried to control the situation, the more control he had. Because power isn't force. It's non-reactivity. But this wasn't random. It was structure. Musashi didn't rely on instinct. He built a system. 5 elements. Each one necessary. Miss one, and the whole thing collapses. The 5 rings that create an unbreakable mind. Miyamoto Musashi didn't write philosophy. He wrote architecture. 5 rings. 5 systems. Each one training a different layer of the mind. Miss one and pressure finds the crack. 1. Earth, the foundation. Earth is stability, routine, posture, breathing. John fixed this first. Same wake time, same breathing rhythm, same sitting posture every day. Why? Because instability in the body creates noise in the mind. A shaky foundation cannot support calm. 2. Water, adaptability. Water doesn't resist. It adjusts. John learned to stop fighting conversations. He let them flow. Interruptions didn't bother him. They informed him. Pushback wasn't an attack. It was data. Calm isn't rigid. It's flexible. 3. Fire, controlled intensity. Fire is not anger. Fire is directed force. John didn't suppress emotion. He contained it. When intensity was needed, he turned it on. When it wasn't, he shut it down. No leakage. 4. Wind, understanding others. Wind is perception. John studied people. How they spoke under pressure. How they rushed when insecure. How they postured when threatened. Calm gave him bandwidth. While others fought emotions, he read patterns. 5. Void, nothingness. This is the final ring. The hardest. The most misunderstood. Void is no internal dialogue. No story. No identity. No outcome fixation. Just awareness. This is where pressure dies. Because pressure requires a self to attack. Why most people never reach void. They're addicted to thought. Narratives. Justifications. Mental noise. Void feels like losing control. It's actually total control. What happens when all 5 align? Calm becomes automatic. Not forced. Not practiced. Default. Like gravity. But here's the dangerous truth. Most people try to adopt this mindset externally. They imitate calm. They copy posture. They slow speech. And it fails. Why? Because calm cannot be acted. It must be installed. Why fake calm always collapses? Fake calm is loud. It looks controlled, but it's brittle. It cracks the moment pressure becomes personal. The difference you can feel. Real calm. Breath stays slow. Voice stays neutral. Attention stays outward. Fake calm. Jaw tightens. Breathing becomes shallow. Words come faster. The body never lies. Why imitation fails? People copy behavior. They slow their speech. Lower their voice. Hold eye contact. But inside, the storm is still raging. Musashi warned against this. Form without substance is emptiness. Structure must come before appearance. John's final breakthrough. John realized something uncomfortable. Every time he acted calm, He was still seeking outcome, approval, validation, control. That desire created tension, so he removed it. The most counterintuitive move. John stopped trying to influence. He showed up only to observe, respond, execute. No internal win condition, no narrative, just presence. That's when calm became unbreakable. Why this terrifies others. Most people rely on emotional exchange. They provoke, they pressure, they escalate. When nothing comes back, they lose footing. You've removed the game. Calm as invisibility. True calm makes you unreadable. Not cold, not distant, opaque. And opacity creates authority. But calm is not passive. This is the mistake. When action is required, calm allows decisive force, which leads to the final piece. Calm does not mean soft. Calm is not gentleness. Calm is clarity under force. Softness hesitates. Calm acts. The myth that ruins people. They think intensity requires emotion. It doesn't. Emotion blurs timing. Calm sharpens it. Musashi ended duels in seconds. Not because he was fast, but because he struck at the exact moment. No rush. No delay. John's decisive moment. Months later, John faced a hostile takeover attempt. Aggressive. Legal pressure. Media noise. Everyone expected him to react. He didn't. He waited. Silence. Then one move. Precise. Irreversible. The deal collapsed. Not through force. Through timing. Why calm makes action deadly. When the mind is quiet, you see openings sooner. You act without hesitation. You commit fully. No second guessing. No emotional recoil. The final Musashi truth. Do nothing that is of no use. Calm removes useless action. What remains is efficiency. What this means for you. If you want this state, stop trying to look calm. Stop trying to feel calm. Build the system. Train before pressure exists. Simulate stress. Remove internal dialogue. Calm will arrive on its own. The ending that sticks. Pressure doesn't test you. It reveals you. And when nothing inside reacts, nothing outside can control you. Calm isn't weakness. It's the most aggressive position possible. Because when everyone else breaks, you remain.